Love me some corn pops. Cocoa Pebbles are pretty good too. Early bird gets the worm. Yeah! Yeah! Awesome! Even though it might seem like a great idea at the time, do not ship your items to buyers in cereal boxes, snack boxes, and other types of food containers. It is just not going to give you and your business the professional look that you need to get repeat buyers. So, it might seem like a good idea and a good fit at the time, but your buyer might get it and be quite upset. The heck is this? I am never buying from this person again. This is ridiculous. And then the buyer leaves you a negative feedback. And similarly, and yes, I've seen this before, don't use recyclables as your void fill. People don't want to receive garbage in the mail as part of their packaging. Just take the time for your business and invest in bubble wrap and air pillows and styrofoam peanuts. Speaking of negative feedback, you will get some from time to time, but do not respond with name calling like this. I see this far too often, and even though you might technically be right, a new buyer coming across this when reviewing your feedback is going to make them very nervous from purchasing from you, especially if they don't know the context. Instead, leave a response like this in which you stick with the facts and leave the name calling out. Ask yourself, if you were a potential buyer, which seller would you most likely buy from? Now, the next tip has to do with when you are outsourcing at a garage sale or at an estate sale and you have a little box or a bag of items with you. I do suggest doing that, but what you have to be very careful of is making sure that you keep it near you and also keep an eye on it. This is a common example right here of exactly what could happen. You get drawn off to something on the side, and then you get even more interested and do a complete back turn. And while you're doing that, someone else comes right on by and grabs your box of California raisins and walks right away. Now, another common sourcing mistake is to not keep your hands on your item that you are interested in. If you put it down because you want to do something like check the comps on it, well, the problem is that now that item becomes fair game for all, such as this rascal who's going to sneak right on in there when you are not looking, grab that item, and now you're out of luck. Now, one of the most dreaded mistakes of all resellers is to ship the wrong item to opposite buyers. So buyer A gets what buyer B was supposed to get and vice versa. And it could be a very time-consuming process to try to sort all of that out. So the way to prevent it is as follows. Now, keep in mind that this type of problem is most likely to happen if you have similar types of items shipping off in similar types of packages. So this would be a good example if we had two first-class items going in this same envelope. Let's say this peacock jewelry piece and this frog pin right here. So what you want to do is you want to pack this up, put it in a bubble wrap or whatever, get it, all protected. And let's say we put it in this envelope, it's all nice and set. And then what you want to do is you want to write what it is right on here. So we'll actually write peacock. And if you're weighing it in a separate area where you're going to ship it, then I also will put the weight on it, like, 2 for 2 ounces. All right, so we've got that one. And then here we've got the frog. So here we're going to write frog. Now that in and of itself should normally help when you go to print out the labels. However, There are times where you could just be so tired when you're printing things out that you could still accidentally slip up and put the frog label onto the peacock one. So what you have to do is what they do in healthcare when they're doing surgeries is you have to make sure you do a double verification. So what you literally do is if we're mailing out the peacock one, we literally have it right here. We say out loud, say peacock, just went away, say peacock, and then we'll grab this one, say peacock, and we make sure we say it so that we match it up, and then you should never have a situation where you're sending out the wrong label. Do the double verification. Now this next tip has to do with shipping out breakables like glass and ceramic items. It's especially important for resellers who have something that is expensive and breakable. So let's assume this is an expensive piece. It's not, but just for sake of argument. So you're obviously going to put some bubble wrap around it, and you're going to, find a box that, fits in. You're going to put it inside. Make sure you fill any of the void fill spaces. You're going to close your seams and you're going to tape it up. And it's not moving around in there or anything, and you think you're good to go. You ship it out, and then you get a message from the buyer that says, hey, this arrived and is broken. And you're thinking to yourself, how could that possibly be? Like, this thing was rock solid when I sent it out. And you might blame the post office or whatever for rough handling. But the bottom line is the way around this. If you want 100% or as close to 100% guarantee that this thing is not going to break, what you need to do is you need to take that box and put it inside another one and then fill any of the void fill around it with air pillows, packing peanuts, bubble wrap, whatever, and then close your seam. In this instance, I have literally never had any breakable item break in transit. So make sure you double box if you don't want to take the chance of something breaking. Now back to sourcing. A common mistake that I see with new resellers, but it could also happen with experienced resellers, just when you're just in the emotion of a potential purchase from somewhere, is that you see something and you just think based on gut that it's worth something. And sometimes your gut does have value to it, but it has more value when you don't have any comps data to look at. And what some people will do is they will rely solely on their gut and not bother checking the comps. And so they'll see something like this, like a stack of medical books, and they'll think, wow, these must be worth something. And there's a bigger stack over there, and they just get several boxes and they wind up paying up for it. And then initial happiness quickly turns to sorrow. No! When the seller realizes that the items have little value. And here you see one of the most common mistakes that people make when selling or trying to sell is that they take an item that has very little value and they put it up for auction. As you can see here, this prostate cancer book put up for auction at $3.69 with $4 shipping. Didn't even get a single bid. Now let's say that item did sell for $3.69 with one bid coming in. The problem is that in most situations, that's not what the seller wants. Most sellers are putting things up for auction because they're hoping that a bidding war emerges and that the price is going to get run up. But the thing to understand is that's never going to happen with that type of item because there's too much supply. And if you couple that with the demand being low to moderate, you're not going to have a situation where people are going to bid each other up. If you want that type of situation, what you need to have is you need to have an item in which there is low supply and there is high demand. So the opposite of what we just talked about. That's the sweet spot for an auction. Now, there's other reasons for using an auction. If you had an item and you couldn't really quite comp it and you weren't sure about what the desirability or the demand was for it, and you were worried that if you put a buy it now price on it that you might be selling yourself short, you could take a gamble, take a risk, put it up for auction, and maybe that price would get run up higher than what you would have originally put it up for. Auctions can also be good for just getting rid of just junk that you don't have any money into anymore, and you just want to get rid of stuff. So you just, cover the cost of shipping, put it up for auction, and, if it sells, it sells, and you just take it from there. Those are the reasons generally for auction, but don't make the mistake of using auctions for high supply, low to moderate or even high demand items, because even if it's high demand and it's high supply, it might sell, but you're not going to get that bidding war. You know, one of the things that my dad always used to tell me is that no man is an island unto himself. I used to hate hearing him say that over and over again, but it is true. You do need to make connections in reselling to be successful, whether that's connections in your local community with places to source, and also online, especially nowadays during the pandemic. There's so many places where you could go and make connections and learn things and make deals with people. You know, this is my Facebook group, the Reselling Resource Center, but there's many of them out there that you could go join. Go jump onto Instagram if you haven't done that. Get an account. You can learn all sorts of cool things, you know, like stuff here from Rock and Roll Resell. I know they're probably watching, so give them a shout out and say hello. Or stuff, little video clips here from Tim Osborne, from Osborne to Thrift. I mean, there's just so much out there to learn. There's the Thrifty Badger. You could see all sorts of ideas on things that you could source. Don't think that you can't learn anything from other people. You're always learning constantly. YouTube is a great place to go as well. And if you're a content creator, please make connections and collaborate with other people. You know, sometimes I hear that someone will never collaborate with anyone, or they just don't collaborate. They don't do collabs. Collaborate with people. That's how you network, and that you make gains and you learn and you get opportunities that come your way. It's super important, and I hope that you'll try to take on some more collaborations and network and reach out more if you're not doing that yet. All right, now